Hey everyone, Sean Watasa here, back with another tutorial video, and in today's video we're going to build out our very own Web3 Twitter-like application. In this app, we're going to be able to connect or sign in to our application with a wallet and create a status update. We'll then have a feed of all the status updates that are posted by different wallets, as well as being able to look at a feed of all the status updates for an individual wallet. An overview of what we're going to cover in this video, we'll take a look at a demo of the application we're going to be building first. We'll then create our very own smart contract. We'll be creating a smart contract from scratch. We'll then deploy our smart contract, and we'll start building out our front-end application to interact with the contract. We'll be utilizing thirdweb throughout this process, from creating and deploying the contract to even building the front-end application out. And down in the description below, we'll have all the timestamps mapping out everything in this video. So if you need to skip ahead or rewatch a certain section, you can check out those timestamps below. With that being said, let's take a look at a demo of the application here on my computer. So right over here, I have a demo of the app that we're going to be building. Very similar to a Twitter-like application where we have a feed of status updates, shows the wallet address that posted it, the time and date that it was posted at, and we have a connect wallet here, which we are going to have to sign into our application with. So we click that. You can sign in with an email. This is using our embedded wallet. I have the embedded wallet set up with a smart wallet, and I have gasless transactions turned on. So if you use an email here, you get to interact with this application with signing no transactions and not having to pay for gas. And if you're interested in learning how to just set up something like this, we do have other videos that will drop down in the description below. Or you also have the option to connect with a MetaMask wallet or any other EOA wallet of your choice. So I'm just going to connect with MetaMask here. You can see here that I am signed in with my wallet here. I have a logout button, so that will just log out and disconnect my wallet. I'll sign back in here. And if I wanted to, I can hit this update button. So this is my current status right here. I can hit update and I can enter in my new status. Just say that I am currently recording the video tutorial for this app. We added a character count here, so we set a limit to 140 characters, and we can update our status. Now, because this is interacting with the blockchain, we're going to have to confirm the transaction and pay for the gas here. And you can see we are now applying this status update to our wallet address. And once it's updated, you can see here that we have a new status added to our feed from our wallet address. Our status up here is also added and updated to our current status that we just put. Now from there, we can actually click into our wallet address. This will pull up the feed of just the wallet address's status updates. So you can see here, this is the account feed for this wallet address, and the latest updates, this wallet only had 2 updates here, which was one from earlier and the one that we just put. If I go back, we can click on another wallet address. So we'll click on this wallet address here. We get brought to the account feed for that new wallet address, and you can see here these are the status updates posted for that other wallet address. Again, this is a demo of what we are going to be building out. So with that being said, let's actually start building out this application. The first thing we're going to do is build the smart contract. So I'm going to open up my terminal here, and in my terminal here, I'm going to run npx thirdweb create contract. And this is going to allow us to create our very own contract for this application. So in here, I'm just going to put Twitter clone contract. From the framework, you can select hard hat or forge. I'm going to select forge here, and we're going to name our new smart contract. I'm just going to call this status update. And now when you create a new contract using thirdweb, you have a few options. You can start building out contracts with base ERC 721, ERC 20, or ERC 1155 contracts. And you can then build upon those base contracts, or you can select an empty contract, which is what we're going to select, and we're going to create this contract from scratch. Once that is done, we'll switch into our Twitter clone contract here. And then we're going to open this up in our code editor. And in our code editor, we're going to head into the sources folder, and we're going to head to our contract.so. We're going to name this, status update. And we're going to build out our smart contract for our status update. Now, we're going to create a variable first. This variable here is going to be our variable for our max character amount. So this is going to be a uint 256. This is going to be a constant. And this is going to be, again, our max, underscore character amount. So we can set our max character amount that we want for our status updates. I'm just going to make this 140 here. Next, what we're going to do, we'll actually get rid of this constructor here because we're not going to have any constructor for this smart contract. But we're going to create a mapping, and our mapping is going to basically map our wallet address to a string. And that string is going to be the status update. So with mappings, depending on the wallet address that is executing the status update function, we are going to map that address again to the status. So we're going to map an address to a string. It's going to be public, and it's going to be called status updates. Or actually, we'll call this statuses. Next, we'll create an event that will be emitted, and we'll use this event to actually show the events in our feed of our application. So we're going to create an event here. We're going to call this event called status updated. And what this event is going to show us is going to be the address. We'll do indexed, and then this is going to be the user, so the person who has updated their status. We're going to have a string here, which is going to be the new status that was updated. And then we're going to have a uint 256, and this is going to be the timestamp. So we're going to pass the time that the function was executed. That way we can display the time of the status update. So we're going to create our first function, and our first function is going to be to set our, or update our status. So we're just going to call this set status here. And what this is going to take is a string, which is going to be our status. We're going to do memory and then underscore status. So again, all we're going to take is a string, and that is going to be the new status that we set. And this function is going to be a public function here. Now for this function, we're first going to require, and we're going to require that our length of our string that we submit to set our status to is less than or equal to our max character amount. So from here, we're going to get bytes of our underscore status, and we're going to get the length of it. And that length we are going to make sure is less than or equal to the max character amount of 140. And if it exceeds that, we'll just show this error saying status is too long. Then we will then set the statuses, and we'll set the address to the person who is executing the transaction. And we will make their status equal the status that they input for this function. Finally, we will emit the status update event here, giving it the address, which is going to be the sender of this function. We're going to update it with our new status, which is a string, which is going to be the string that they passed in through this argument for this function. And then we're going to have the timestamp, which we're going to use block.timestamp to get the timestamp that this function was executed. Finally, we're going to create a function to get status. And this is going to take the address that we want to check. We'll just call this a user. Now this is going to be a public function here. It is only going to be a view function that is going to return to us a string of the status. So in here, we're going to first get our string memory here. Status. So we're going to get our status by using our mapping by providing our address here, and we'll get returned back our string, which we'll store in this status variable. And what we're going to check is if then we're going to check if the length of our status is 0. So this is for someone or a wallet that hasn't ever created a status, meaning that they have never used this application, connected their wallet, and executed a set status function. They're not going to have a string, or they'll have an empty string that is attached to their address. So we're going to check to see if their status has a length. If it doesn't, then we're just going to set their status to no status set. If they do have a status, we're just going to return that status that we stored in this status variable here. And just like that, we created a very simple contract that allows us to, again, map a wallet address to a string with a max character amount of 140, which we're going to treat as our status. And we'll be able to use the events here along with the get status function to display some information in our application. With our smart contract finished here, we can now deploy this. So I'm going to open up my terminal here, and I'm going to run npx thirdweb deploy. And what we're going to do here is deploy our smart contract using thirdweb. Now, when we deploy with thirdweb, the great thing is we don't need to import any of our private keys or anything. What will happen is actually our contract metadata and everything will be uploaded to IPFS, and we'll actually be able to deploy this smart contract using thirdweb's dashboard. This means that we can use our installed browser wallet like our MetaMask or something to deploy the contract via the dashboard, not having to expose any of our private keys within the deployment. So I'm going to run npx thirdweb deploy. You'll see here it detects our project type, which is Foundry. It's compiling our project, it's uploading the contract data, and this should open us up a new browser window here. If you don't get that new browser window, you should have a URL that you can go to right over here that will bring you to that window. So in that window, you can see we have our status update contract here. Now, if you had a constructor function that had some parameters that you needed to fill out, you would see that right over here. You'll see some input fields, and you could fill out those parameters for the constructor function. But because we didn't have one for this smart contract, we just have the network or chain that we need to select our deploy to. So I'm going to use the Mumbai testnet for this tutorial, and I'm going to hit deploy now. We'll get a transaction that appears. We'll pay the gas for it, confirm that transaction. We'll get another pop-up requesting a signature to add this to our thirdweb dashboard. And once your contract has been deployed, you'll then be brought to your contract dashboard here. You can see we have our status update contract. If we come to the Explorer tab here in the left-hand navigation, we'll have our different write and read functions for our contract. So for our write, we have the set status here, which takes a string of the status we want to update. And we have our read here, so we can get a status of an address or our statuses mapping here. So we hit get status and we copy our wallet address here, paste that in, and we run it. You'll see we get the no status set string back because, again, in our smart contract, we wrote that if we didn't have one set, this is the string that we would be returned. So now that we have our smart contract deployed, we can now start building out our application to start interacting with this contract. That way we have a nice UI that a user can see when interacting with it. So I'm gonna head back to my terminal here. We're going to exit here and then let's clear this. To create our application, I'm going to run npx thirdweb create app, and we'll name our project. So we'll name this Twitter clone app. And we're going to select, for this project, the framework I'm going to use is Next.js, and I'm going to use TypeScript. So we'll change into our project here, and we'll open this up in our code editor. So in our project here, we're going to first set up our application. So we're going to head into the pages folder and first head to the _app.tsx file. Now we're going to have to set up a couple things for our thirdweb provider here. First thing we're going to set up is this active chain, and the active chain is in this variable right up here. By default, it's set to the Ethereum mainnet, but you're going to switch this over to the chain or network that you deployed your smart contract to. So in my case, I used the Mumbai. I'm going to change that over to Mumbai. And then the next thing we're going to do is provide our thirdweb provider with our client ID. Now this client ID we're storing in an environment variable file. So if I open up my file directory here and I go to this .env.example, you can see here we're storing our private key here. Now I'm going to get one of my private keys from my thirdweb dashboard. Coming up here to settings, You can create yourself an API key just by creating an API key right here in the top right corner. If you don't know how to create an API key or what it's used for, we'll link down a video down in the description. You can check it out if you want to learn more. But I'm just going to take one of my client IDs here, come back to my code editor, and paste that into my application. Next, I'm going to open up my file directory here. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this constants. And I'm going to create a file in there called addresses.ts. And this is where I'm going to store my contract address so I can use it throughout my application. So I'm just going to create a variable here called status contract address. I'm going to come back to my contract here, click on the address to copy it, head on back and put that into here. So I'll close that out. That way we now have our contract address that we can use to our application. Now, if you remember in our demo app here, if I log out of this one, in our Connect wallet, we did have the option to sign in with email here. And again, this was using embedded wallet and smart wallet or an account abstraction wallet to allow signless and gasless transactions. So if you do want to set something up like this, again, we'll have a more detailed video linked down in the description. But just to go over it really quickly, what we'll need is an account factory contract address. So what you need to do is deploy an account factory contract address. You'll need that contract address there. So we'll head back to our code editor. And what you'll need to do is set up we'll call this a smart wallet config. And a smart wallet config needs the factory address, which is going to be the account factory contract address. And we need to know if we're enabling gasless transactions. So in this case, we'll just say true here. And then with that smart wallet config, we can add it to our embedded wallet using our smart wallet. So in our thirdweb provider, we can add our supported wallets that we want to support with this application. And the first one we're going to do is a smart wallet. And again, our smart wallet, we set what we want the EOA wallet to be. So that will be an embedded wallet. And we can set it with our smart wallet configs. We can then add things like a MetaMask, Coinbase, and Wallet Connect. So again, with this smart wallet config, we just need the factory address and if we want to enable gasless transactions. And then we add it into our supported wallets using smart wallet. We set the EOA wallet to our embedded wallet, which is for emails. And then we pass it with our smart wallet config here. And then finally, for setting up our application, I'm going to add some CSS styling that I've had. Now I'm going to open up my styles here and go to this home.module.css file. And I have some styling that I'm going to use just to make the app look nice while we go through this tutorial. Now, if you do want to copy the styling, we'll have a link to the repo down in the description. But I just have some styling for like the buttons and the cards that we're going to be using throughout this application. But again, you can grab that down from the repo in the description. All right, so we now have our app pretty much set up. With our contract, we set the active chain along with setting up our smart wallet config and our client IDs. So I'm going to run this here. So run yarn dev. And what we should see appear here is our template here when we create a thirdweb application. So if I head back to my code editor here, we'll open up our file directory. We'll go into the pages folder and we'll go to the index.tsx page. You can see this is some of the template code here. Now I'm going to remove everything within this main. So there's a main tag, there's a div tag with a container. Everything in between that I'm going to remove. So let me just remove this here. And we'll keep it just like that. I'm going to remove this image import and this connect wallet import. So if we come back to our demo app right here, the first component we're going to build is the user status component here. So this component that allows us to connect a wallet if we're not connected. And once we're connected, it should display us our status along with our wallet address, a logout button to disconnect our wallet, and an update button with a modal that pops up for us to update our status. So heading back to our code editor here, I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm going to call this folder components. And in components, I'm going to create a new file called user status.tsx. And in here, we're going to create our user status component. Now, again, the first thing we wanted to do in our user status was display the connected wallet's wallet address in the top left and a logout button in the top right, which would disconnect their wallet from the application. So we can get the user's wallet address we'll store it in an address variable, and we'll use the use address hook from thirdweb. And the use address hook basically will get back the wallet address of the connected wallet to our application. We'll create another variable here called disconnect. And this is going to use the use disconnect hook from thirdweb. And this will allow us to create a button that disconnects any connected wallet to our application. Next, we're going to create a few state variables that we'll need to use within our user status card. So the first one is going to be our status. So we'll say new status here, and we'll say set new status. Import use state. We need to know, is our status modal open? We'll create one for our character count. And then we're going to create a variable here for our character decoration. This is for if our character count goes over 140. So right here, if our character count is greater than 140, we're going to show our styles will be our red text. So let's actually import styles from our style sheet here. And then if it is less than 140, we'll keep our character styling the default styling that it should have. So now that we have our state variables set, let's get our contract so that we can start pulling information down from it and displaying it in our application. So first thing we need to do is get our contract. And we can get our contract using the use contract hook from thirdweb. Now the use contract hook takes the contract address, and we stored that under our status contract address. And with that, we have now an instance of our contract that we can start interacting with. So the first thing we're going to do is get the status of the connected wallet. So in here, we're going to use another hook that we're going to get back a data property from. And we're going to call this my status. We can also check the loading state of it. So is loading, we'll say is my status loading. And then we're going to use the use contract read function because we are going to interact with our contract and get the data back from a read function, not a write function. So we're going to use the use contract read hook. Now we need to provide it with a few things here. We need to provide it with the contract that we're going to interact with is our contract. We then need to provide it with the name of the read function that we are going to call, which is going to be get status. And then we need to give it an array of any of the arguments that that function takes. And if we take a look back at our contract here and we go to read, again, get status, the argument it takes is a address, which we want it to be the address of the connected wallet. So in here, we're going to give it and pass it the address variable that we got from the use address hook right up here. So again, this should bring us and get us down our status if the connected wallet address has a status. If not, it shows that no status string that we put into our smart contract. If a wallet isn't connected, we are going to display a connect wallet button. So if we come here and we'll say if no address, so if there's no wallet connected, we're going to return here a div, and that div will have a connect wallet button. And for that connect wallet button, we're going to set the modal size here to compact. And below that, we'll just add some text here that says, please connect your wallet. So if I save that and we go back to our app here, actually, we forgot to add it into our index.tsx page. So index.tsx here, I'm going to add in our user status. Now I added it within a div with the styles of status container. This is just a card styling here to give it a lighter gray background. So if we come back to our app, we can see we have our card here with our connect wallet button that allows us to sign in with email, or we can select a wallet to log in with. And it says, please connect your wallet. So if I do connect a wallet here, we should get a blank card with nothing in it. We haven't set up or created that component yet. So we'll do that right now. Coming back to our user status.tsx here. So again, that was, we showed that part if there was no address connected. If there is an address connected, we'll create that component right over here. So in this div here, I'm first going to give it a class name of styles.container. And within this, I'm going to create another div. This div is going to have a class name of styles.status header. And in that status header, we're first going to create a link. And this link is going to be a link of our wallet address. So I'm going to create a link here just really quick. Within this link, I'm going to have a p tag, and we're going to display our wallet address. Now, this link here is, we're going to create this a bit later on, but we're going to create an href. And this is going to link out to an account/address. And that will link to a profile page of the address that was selected. And then we're just going to give this a style here of color, and we're going to make it white. Oh, we need to take this out of that right there. Now for this address here, we want to create a truncated version of our wallet address. So I'm just going to create a function. We'll come to our file directory. We'll create a new folder. We'll call this utils. And in there, we'll create a new file called truncate address.ts. And we're going to just create a function here called truncate address. This is going to take a address, which should be a string. And what it's going to do is just return us a truncated version of it, just like that. So that will just be our function there. And what we'll do here is over here, we're going to return and display a truncated address of our address. Now we'll give this p tag, we'll give this p tag here a class name as well. And this is going to have the styles.connected address. So if we come back to our app here, you can see we have our card here with now displaying our address in the top right, top left. So next to that, we're going to have a button, and that button is going to allow us to log out or disconnect from our connected wallet. So we're going to call this disconnect here. It's going to have the style of log out button, and on click, we're going to create an arrow function here for disconnect, which was the disconnect hook that we used from thirdweb right over here. So if we come back to our app, we now have this disconnect button. So if I hit disconnect, it disconnects our wallet, and you can see here we're brought back to our connect card right here. So we hit connect again, we connect back with a wallet. We get back to this connected state here. Next, below this status header, we're going to display our status. So we first want to check that our is my status loading is finished loading, and that we have my status. And if we have that information from our React hook, we're going to display a div here that has the class name of status text, and it's going to display my status. So if we come back to our app one more time, you can see no status set because we haven't set our status for this wallet just yet. And then it is stretching. We're going to change this one here to user container. That should, yeah, now our card isn't spanning the whole height of our application. And below our status, we need to create an update button, which is going to allow us to update our status and pop open our modal. So we're going to create a button here, and we're going to call this update, so someone can update their status. Now this button is going to have a class name here of styles.update button. And on click, this is just going to toggle is the status modal open or not. So next we need to create that status modal. So in here, we're going to say if status modal is open, we're going to display the modal here. So we have a div here. This div is going to have a class name of styles.status modal container. And that will have another div with the class name of styles.status modal. And within that, we'll create our header first. So in this div is going to have the class name of styles.status modal header. And it is going to display some text that says new status. And it is going to have a button in the top right that says close. And this button on click is going to set the status modal open to false. So it closes the modal. Below the status modal header here, we're going to create a text area. We'll do it like that. So in this text area here, the value is going to equal our new status. On change is we're going to set the new status to whatever is within our text area, and we're going to set the character count to the length of our text within this. And we'll just add a placeholder here that says enter your status. Beneath that, we're going to create a div. This is going to hold our character counter. So in this div here, we're going to give that a class name of styles.character counter container. The character count here is going to have a class name of styles.character decoration. So based on the character count, if you remember up here, we're going to make the characters red if they go over 140, and we'll keep them white if they are under 140. And then we're going to show here the character count, and then so if we save that, let's take a look at our app. So we now have this update button that when we click on it, it opens up our modal here. We have our text area where we can type in a status, and you can see as we start typing, our counter is counting the number of characters that we have. And once we go over 140, we are going to, it should turn red. Let's see if we have, so class name here, we don't need styles, we just need character decoration because we set that up here. So now coming back, there we go. We have, once we go over 140, we get a red text that appears. So what we need next is and then we're gonna double check the spelling there, character count container. There we go. That should put it down in the bottom right here. What we need to do next is create a button here that is going to execute the set status function from our smart contract. So right here under the character count container, we're going to create something called a Web3 button. And this Web3 button is a UI component from thirdweb that allows us to call functions and interact with our smart contract very easily. So we're going to name this button update status. Now this Web3 button, we need to provide it with the contract address that we're going to interact with, which is going to be our status contract address. And then we need to provide it with an action. This is going to be what action is this button going to be doing on top of our contract. So on our contract, we can call any function by doing contract.call. And what we need to do here is specify the name of our function. So in this case here, the name of our function is setStatus, and then we need to provide it an array of the arguments that it takes, and it is just going to set the status to our new status, which is going to be what we have inputted here in the text area. Now we're going to add a class name to this here. We're going to call this styles.status modal button. Now with a Web3 button, we can also set things like is disabled, and this is going to be disabled if our character count is 0 or if it exceeds the 140 character count. And we can also set on success. So if our transaction is successful, what we're going to do here is a couple things. We're going to set the modal to close by setting it to false, and then we're going to reset the status in the text area to an empty string so that when we reopen it, someone can just input a new status if they want to update it. So again, the Web3 UI component is an easy way to interact with your smart contracts by just specifying the contract address you want to interact with, and then providing an action that that button is going to do upon that contract. So that does it for our user card here. Again, we have a card that displays, if we take a look at our app here, let's just close this. It'll display, if we disconnect, a login button here where a user can connect with their wallet. So we'll just connect back with our MetaMask here. Displays our wallet address here in the top left, a disconnect button here, our status if we have one set. We have an update button which opens up our modal here that allows us to set our status and keeps track of our character count here. And we have a Web3 button here that allows us to execute the set status function. So we can just say this is our first status update, and we can hit update status. This will open up a transaction for us. So we can see here, we're executing this transaction. We just need to cover the gas here. We'll confirm. Our transaction is going through, and once our transaction is finished, it should close our modal here, and we'll give it a moment, and our status should update and display within our user status card. And there you go. We have, this is our first status update here, updated, and we now have again completed our user status card component right here. So now if we look back at our other demo app, we have this status feed that we want to display here. And that just shows every status that has been updated through this contract. It shows which wallet address updated their status at what time using the timestamp and what their status update was. So we'll add that status feed here. So coming back to our code editor, we're going to come back to our file directory. We're going to create a new component here. And this component is going to be called our status events.tsx. And in here, we're going to, again, create our status events component. So first, we need to get the events that are emitted from our smart contract. So if we look here, back at our smart contract dashboard, if we take a look at this left-hand navigation, we go to events. We'll have one event here because we did one status update. So if we look at that status update here, you can see our event data. It shows who the person was that updated their status, what their new status was, and we have a timestamp here. And again, this is the information we're going to use to display in our status feed. So we first need to be able to get those events. So just like how we did in our user status card, we're going to get our contract here using the use contract hook from thirdweb and using our status contract address. We're then, similar to how we got the read data from our smart contract, we're going to use a different hook this time around. We're going to get back our data property. We're going to name that status events. Again, we can check is loading. And this time around, we're going to use contract events. And use contract events, we need to provide it the contract that we want to get the events from. In this case, it's going to be our contract. The name of the event that we are looking for, for our contract, it's called status updated. So it's going to feed us only the status updated events. And then we're going to set subscribe here to true so that we have our updates when they are posted. And this is going to give us back all the status update events that get emitted to our from our smart contract. Now within our feed here, what we're going to do is we're going to check that we have our events loaded. So we're going to check that is status events. We're going to check that status events is no longer loading. And from there, we're going to get our status events. We're going to only display the last 30. So I'm going to slice it here and then we're going to do 0, 30. And we're going to map through the last 30 here. And for each one, we're going to display an event card that we are going to create. So again, we're just getting all the events. We're only going to get the recent 30 events, map through those 30 events. And for each event, we are going to create an event card. So back in our components folder, I'm going to create a new file, call this event card.tsx. Now we need to create a type here called event card props. And we're going to need a few information to display within our event card. So the first one is going to be a wallet address, which is going to be a string, a new status, which is going to be a string as well. And then we need the timestamp, which is actually going to be a big number. And we're going to create, and then we're going to create our event card component. So for our event card component, we're going to give this div here a class name of styles. Oh, let's import styles here. This is going to be from our home module. So we're going to give it a class name of styles.eventCard. And within that event card, we're going to create another div here. This one with the name of styles.event header. And in our event header, we're going to display very similar to our user card. We're going to create a link here that is going to take us to our account feed of the wallet address. So we're going to do that. We're going to have the connected wallet address. We're going to make sure that we truncate the wallet address though. There you go. And then on the right side, we want to display the date and time that the post event went through. So we're going to have to create a date that is displayable within our application. Because we are interacting with a smart contract, the timestamp gets returned to us in a big number. So we're going to create a variable here called date. It is going to equal a new date here. And this date is going to take in our timestamp dot to number. So we can convert it to a number here. And then we're going to multiply that by 1000. So below here, if we create some text here, we're going to display our date and then dot to local time string. And that should give us a date that is readable and we can display it in our app. And then we're just going to give it a quick style here of a font size of 0.75 rem. Then below that, we're going to have a paragraph tag here that is going to display our new status. Give this a quick style here of font size 16 pixels. And we have our event card set. So coming back to our status events.tsx, we're going to now, in our mapping, we are going to display for each one of our events a event card. And again, our event card, we need to set the key to the index here. We're going to set the wallet address to the event.data.wallet address. We're going to set the new status here to the event data new status. And then we're going to set the timestamp here to the event data.timestamp. Take a look back at our application. Oh, actually, we need to add this into our index.tsx here. So right below our status container, we're going to create a just a header 3 there of status feed. And then we're going to import our status events. So coming back to our app, we have status feed. So we're getting a undefined. So back in our status.events, wallet address should be user, not wallet address, because we named it user in our event. So now coming back to our app here, there we go. We have our event right over here. And then we'll just fix our sizing here really quick. Min width of 500 pixels. There you go. So we have our status feed. So if we add one more status, we'll just say this is another status update. We'll update that status. That should be added into our feed. So let's confirm this transaction here. And there you go. You can see we have our new status that is displayed in our user status, and it gets added to our status feed. And we have the time that it was posted at. So next, what we want to do is create a way to filter through these statuses. And when we look at an account feed, we only see the status updates that that wallet address has posted. So coming back to our application here, we're going to come to our files. And in our pages here, I'm going to create a new folder called account. And in that account folder, I'm going to create a new file within brackets here. I'm going to have wallet address and then .tsx. And in here, we're going to create a component called account feed. Now we need to get the wallet address and then we need to get our wallet address so we know what to display within our account feed. So we're going to use the router here to get the wallet address that we have been routed from. Then we're going to get our wallet address here by using the router query. Next, what we're going to do is get our contract address again. So we'll do contract. We'll use contract again. Import that. And this time we're going to get the same events like we did the last time in our status feed. So we're going to have our user events. And then we're going to do is loading. And we're going to, again, use the use contract events hook. We're going to, again, we're looking for the events on our contract. We're looking for the events that are called status updated. This time, though, we are going to put subscribe to true. But we're also going to use some query filters here. So query filter. And for our query filter, we're going to add a filter. And that filter is going to be, we're going to look for the if user equals wallet address. We'll also import in use contract events. We spelled filters wrong here. So again, what we're adding to the use events hook this time is going to be a query filter, and we're filtering out any of the status updated where the user is equal to the wallet address that we are looking for. Then with all of that, we can then create our account feed. So here we're going to create a class name with a div that is going to be styles. Let's import styles here again. We're going to do styles.container. We're just going to add a little styling here as well. We're going to say max width is going to be 500 pixels. Within this div, we're going to first create a button. This button is just going to be a back button. And we're going to give this button an on click here. And this on click is just going to, route us. We'll just route back to the home page actually. And then this button will have a class name here of styles, and we're going to give it the same as our update button. Below our button, we'll have a H1 header that says account feed. Below that, we'll have a p tag that displays the wallet address. We'll give it some styling here, just some quick styling of a font size of 0.75 rem. Below that, we'll have H3 header here saying latest updates, and we will then, just like how we displayed our status feed, map through our users. So we'll make sure that is user events is loading, and then we'll get our user events. We're going to again slice it just a recent 30 here, and then we're going to map through each one. And for each one, we are going to show an event card. That event card, we have our key, which is going to be the index. We have our wallet address, which is going to be the user, the new status, and the timestamp. And there we go. Now when we come back to our application here, let's actually disconnect. We'll connect a new wallet. I'm going to use just a Coinbase wallet here really quick. We'll connect. And you can see we have no update, so we'll update our status, and then we'll just say Coinbase wallet update. We'll update our status here, confirm that transaction. So there you go. We have this Coinbase wallet update from this new wallet that we have right over here. Now, if I click on my wallet address, it should link us to only our account feed, where if we give it some time, it should just update to our feed of only what this wallet address has submitted. Now we can hit the back button here, give it some time. It should show us our full status feed as well. And if we look at the other wallet address, we'll give it some time to update, and it should update with only those two status updates there. So there you have it. We built ourselves our very own simple version of a Web3 Twitter-like application. We were able to create our smart contract and deploy it using thirdweb, and we were able to build out a front-end application which interacted with that smart contract using thirdweb's SDK. Now, I hope you folks enjoyed this video. You found some value in it. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out on tutorial videos just like this. If you need any help or support, we'll drop a link down in the description below where you can check out our support docs as well as open a ticket with our support team. But again, I hope you folks enjoyed this video, you found some value in it, and until next time, see ya.